Blog Talk Radio.
Hello and welcome to Quality of Life Radio, hosted by Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazine.com.
Well, happy Monday, everybody. It's March 30th, 2020, and welcome to Big Blend Radio's Quality of Life show with your hosts, Nancy and Lisa, the crazy mother-daughter travel team and publishers of Big Blend Radio and TV Magazine and Parks and Travel Magazine. Today we're airing live from the historic and beautiful Homestead Inn in 29 Palms, California. In fact, you can see Joshua Tree National Park right from where we're sitting. It is absolutely beautiful in the desert. There's wildflowers. Did you enjoy your walk this morning, Nancy?
Absolutely.
It's absolutely gorgeous.
Man, those cactus, wow.
I know the magenta, the beavertail cactus are all in bloom, and the fiddleneck flowers and the heliotropes, and it's just beautiful, and all the birds are out, and the vultures are here.
They're hanging out.
Yeah, we got to bring up the vultures. They're cool. We got the turkey vultures. But anyway, today, very excited. We have Katie Burke joining us. She's a columnist. She's also an attorney, and she's joining us to talk about her brand new book. It's called Urban Playground: What Kids Say About Living in San Francisco. It's published by Spark Press. It's out April 7th, and you can actually order it now. You can go on Amazon or IndieBound Books and order it now. Some people are already getting it, which is cool. And but it is out April 7th, and it's really cool because she went around and interviewed kids between 5 and 9 living in San Francisco, Nancy, and you know the kids say the darndest things, right?
Well, you did.
Well, and I still do. That's why I'm in radio.
That's right.
But welcome, Katie. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Hey, it's good to have you on the show. Our first thing is congratulations on Urban Playground, and second thing is, are you going to write Urban Playground, Backyard Playground, how kids dealing with the quarantine situation from COVID-19?
I guess so. Who knows? I mean, the idea was that I'd be in another city next, and, the interviews would have always taken place by FaceTime or Zoom or something like that. But I am talking to kids a lot about what's going on right now for my column. And, yeah, it's crazy. A lot of confusion and fear.
Oh, wow, yeah, and not understanding. I was thinking of you the other day. I was listening to an NPR broadcast, and they had a virus expert. I'm like, dude, I want to be a virus expert. How cool. And he was talking about being fascinated by viruses like when he was a little kid and so they had all these kids call in and ask him questions. They pre-recorded them. And I was listening to kids like, how do I get a pandemic? Fun questions like that. So you going around and interviewing them, did they understand that they're going to be part of a book, that kind of thing?
Yes. So I interviewed kids I did some sample interviews actually in mid-2018 and then really got going toward the end of that year. And they did all understand that. They all knew that they'd be in a book. And they were so excited about that. So it started as a book about kids in U.S. cities. So I was talking to kids all around the U.S. And because they were so excited, when we changed it to be San Francisco kids, I decided I'd put profiles from all the interviews of all the kids on the website because I couldn't stand the idea that I had gone to interview them and they were so excited about being in a book and then it didn't happen. So all the profiles will eventually be up on the website.
Very cool. Very cool. And everyone, I encourage you to go to Katie's website. It is katieburkeauthor.com, and that's KatieBurke. Just, proving I can spell. But this is really cool. So what led you to interviewing kids? Because I know you've got the No Kids. That's a column. So that's like a neighborhood newspaper, and you've been interviewing kids that way. But what started it?
Yes. So it started because I have 6 nieces and 2 nephews, and my mom asked me a few years ago, I guess, or a couple years ago, if I would do a family project writing weekly stories for a year.
Oh, you disappeared. Come back.
That's fun. I was writing every single week, and And I decided I really wanted to keep that going and have something like a column. So I approached the Noe Valley Voice, because Noe Valley is a San Francisco neighborhood very adjacent to mine, and told them what I had done for my family and said I was interested in doing something like that for the kids in Noe Valley. So that's how that began. And then I met my publisher at the San Francisco Writers Conference, I guess in 2018. And after meeting her and she saw the different things I had written, she put it all together and said, you live in the city and you talk to kids, you should talk about kids about living in the city.
Cool. And so you said this is something because I've seen some of your social media posts too, that, and also on your website, that there's different cities popping up as well that you're working on. So this is going to be like a whole series, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah. So it first started the other direction, that it was multiple cities. Then we decided for the book, let's just start in San Francisco. And then the idea is either that the second book would go general again, or that it would just go city by city. So I'd start in some other city like New York or something next.
What about New Orleans? I hear that you have a passion for Louisiana like we do.
Oh, I love New Orleans, yes. I used to go twice a year, and then it's become once a year. And, I love it there so much. So absolutely. And I almost wouldn't include it in my definition that I use now, because I really think of urban centers, but New Orleans is so unique that, I just have to do one there.
It's interesting about New Orleans. A lot of musicians that we know moved from from San Francisco to New Orleans. And there is something, Nancy, they both feel kind of like Cape Town, right, in a way?
Yeah, but they're artistic, so I can...
There's something.
Yeah. Just the way people, there's just so, I think because there's such big melting pots, you have so many different cultures that there's a lot of art and music, and, so they in a way seem similar, but they're very different cities.
And the water. Different weather.
Yeah.
Different weather.
Yeah, they're very different from each other. Yeah, but they're both places where there's just a lot going on, which is something I require and why I love both. And I think is it Tennessee Williams who has that quote that says the U.S. has only 3 cities, New York, New Orleans, and San Francisco. All the rest are Cleveland or something like that.
Oh, my gosh. Everyone in L.A. is going to freak out. In San Diego, I'm going to get emails now. That's funny.
I know.
That's funny.
Yeah,
Well,
not
New
my
York.
quote.
Hey, it's really interesting. We travel through some cities, and some of them, we did Little Rock and Santa Fe, which is our first capital city in the country, and they're all so different. So I think it's really cool what you're doing, and I love seeing the kids' perspectives because, Nancy, you always talked about that time where, was it Disneyland that you took me to, and you thought I was having a blast, and all I saw were
it was a fair, the Pomona Fair, and she's in the stroller, and I thought she would love it because of all the animals and all the things that were going on, and she got tired, as I did. When we, on the way home, like, well, what did you like the best? And she said she didn't see anything. I'm like, what do you mean? She said, all I saw was people's knees. Yeah. So people, when you put your kids in the stroller, guess what?
That's what they're seeing. I mean, that's kind of what your book reminds me of, is that kind of like, wow, we didn't even think about what they're seeing at the lower level, in size-wise.
That's a really good point, because it does feel, when I talk to the kids sometimes, the things they'll say, I have one story where there's a child in the book who, I can't remember if I put this part in the book or not, but she was telling me how much she loves Target and, all these kind of like McDonald's and, whatever. And I was videotaping her because for some interviews, if the kid wanted it and the parent was fine with it, I did video. And so I was videotaping the whole thing. And when I was done and I turned it off, her mother said, I just want you to know, I take her everywhere. We go to museums, we go to parks, we do all these things. And it was like what stuck in her mind to say she loved was Target and McDonald's and, all these things that horrified her mother.
That's so funny.
That is funny how that is. And, well, the other thing, too, your book, there's fun stuff, but then you think about how multicultural San Francisco is. So that kind of has a dialogue, too, when in your book. Not kind of, it does. There's a dialogue about that.
Right. And it was really good to see because, I mean, there's a lot of talk these days about how much San Francisco has changed, and I've lived in the city since '99, and it definitely has, and it feels like it's become a lot more homogenous. It certainly is a, one industry town at this point, and it wasn't when I moved here. So it was really nice to get into people's homes and, just when you take it to the kid level or just kind of outside my own places that I go, to see that there still is a lot of diversity and difference. That was really good for me to see.
Yeah, I love that. I think that is one of the beauties of San Francisco. Now, what about the smells? There's, some smells. I want to go like, okay, have you smelled sourdough bread? But some,
yeah, you would think it stinks when you.
Well, the one didn't think that with the ice cream factory there was no smells. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It is funny how often smell came up, and when I read back some of the stories, I just thought, wow, you'd really think San Francisco stinks listening to some of these kids, but I think, they're low to the ground, they're in parks, they're, I don't know, but yeah, there was a whole lot about smells, and there was one kid who said, San Francisco just has a particular smell, and he couldn't say what it was, but it's different than ice cream or something like that.
Well, it probably is.
Yeah, right? And then,
yeah, it's very different from ice cream in some places, yeah.
There are places that have smells, distinct smells, especially when it gets to fish.
Well, the ocean.
Yeah.
That coastal smell.
There's sewage in some places.
Well, nice.
But every place has a thing, has a smell. But now the other thing, when you think about the Bay Area, you've got the arts, you've got culture, you've got all these beautiful parks like the Presidio, and oh my gosh, the Presidio. I mean, you could just live there. I mean, hey, can people just walk out their door now, like when you're all quarantined in? Like, can you go if you live in the Presidio and then go down to Chrissy's Field, or no? It's like kind of quiet now, huh?
It's quiet, but what we are told to do is we can definitely exercise as long as we stay 6 feet apart, and it's exercise and essential trips are what we're supposed to do. So they're telling us to stay close to home. I don't live by the Presidio, but yeah, I mean, if somebody lived right in or near the Presidio and wanted to take a walk, as long as they, Chrissy Field, which is right by there, is probably really crowded with people, but there's also a lot of space. So yeah, people can do that.
Okay, cool. Because that's a neat, that's an amazing place, the Presidio. Like that people live there. There's museums. It's part of the National Park Service, and you just have to find parking.
Right.
Twirled around.
It is really beautiful. Yeah.
It's neat, but when you think about San Francisco, there's all the songs too, right? But homelessness is an issue, and you do have that come up in your book, and that's an interesting thing for kids to think about.
Yes, and homelessness has become more and more visible over the years. So when I thought about the fact that I'm talking to kids who are 5 to 9, I mean, really, even in the past, 2 years, 5 years, there's just been this explosion of visibility. And, everybody has all kinds of theories about it. Is it because there's more construction and people are driven out of the places they're usually hiding? Is it that rents have gotten so astronomical that the bottom drops out? What is it? But definitely people are a lot more visible. They're really, really long, extended tent cities. So for kids walking around, I mean, they just really can't miss it.
Wow. So are things being done, to help the situation that you know of, or are kids concerned about it, like wanting to do things?
Kids are concerned about it for sure. Things are being done. What I hear about when I go to either neighborhood meetings or just, reading the news or whatever, is that as much as the city is making huge strides in getting people housed and, figuring out ways for them to live more humanely, as the city has a reputation for and as we were able to do longer ago, as that happens in increasing numbers, the population is increasing faster than the effort. So what they'll tell us is that they are actually doing a better job than they've done in past years, but the numbers of basically services needed are just outpacing the progress they're making. So, something's going on. I mean, it feels really kind of overwhelming to try to navigate it. I know that LA and San Diego have the same problem. Some people say all over the country, although, we have it pretty bad. I mean, not we, but the people on the streets. And, yeah, I mean, most of the kids I talked to were scared about it and had a lot of questions about it. There were definitely kids who were empathetic toward homeless people, and some were some combination of both.
And then to even be able to interview kids, because even it's odd, like, because I'm not a parent, and I know you're not either, but you've got, like, family, right? Kids in your family, and suddenly it's like, I look at kids, I'm like, uh-oh, and I think they're really cool and fun. Don't get me wrong, but it's like I don't even know how to, like, talk to them. You know what I mean? It's like what age? What am I? You don't want to treat them like a baby. Like, there's this whole communication, and the thing is, they will come up to you and start, like, communicating with you, and you can follow their lead, right? But to interview them for a book, that has got to be really interesting to be able to connect with them. And are there tips or, tricks for all of us out there that aren't parents so that we know how to communicate better?
Yeah, I mean, I always feel like kids are their own instruction manuals, like they'll tell you, and I mean, I had my 5-year-old niece say to me the other day, if you get the coronavirus, are you going to die?
Oh my gosh.
Thank you. I am. But, and, and you just, like, you could recoil from that question in fear, or, I just kind of said, no, I cough a little bit, but I'd be fine. And, that was good enough for her, and she was on to the next thing. And I think, and it's all about age appropriateness, too, because maybe a 9-year-old wouldn't be off to the next thing. They'd have some follow-up questions. But for me, I don't know what it is, but I've always felt really comfortable. I think actually I have an idea of what it is. I think because kids are, for the most part, so completely honest and just out with it. That's really easy for me. That's really my preferred way of communicating. It's the way I communicate. I'm too blunt and direct for some people. So when kids say, like, really embarrassing things, I'm like, just go for it. It's just like, I'd rather have them be just out with it and know what they're thinking. And they are not the ones who will shy away, generally speaking. If you ask them something scary or, whatever, I tend to find that they really want to talk about it.
Yeah, and when they don't want to answer something or they're not talkative, then that's kind of a learned behavior. They're maybe trying to guess what the right answer is so that they don't get in trouble, or they don't disappoint somebody, or they get a bad reaction instead of a good reaction. So, whatever it is you're talking about, and a lot does depend on how they're brought up, and a lot depends on the age. Because there are ages where they mentally seem to skip way ahead all of a sudden.
Right. Well, and I chose the 5 to 9 window just completely arbitrarily, and I guess it's a testament to my math skills, because I was thinking, that's a 4-year range, but it's really 5. And what a 5-year-old, I mean, for the most part, or I think probably every 5-year-old I talked to, I mean, it was just like no filter, and they just talked about what they talked about, and it might take 20 minutes to get a question out of them because they wanted to show me this toy and whatever, but they would answer directly. And then if I was talking to a 9-year-old, almost universally, I really felt like they had an idea of what they thought I wanted, but I also felt like they were more sophisticated and more, they had more going on inside themselves too, but there was definitely more of a, sort of looking for what I was looking for, and asking me, is this what is this right? And for that reason, or just because I didn't want the book to have any rehearsed children, I didn't tell any of the parents what theme their child was going to get, because the book has 10 themes that they would be asked questions out of one of the themes, and I didn't tell the parents in advance because I didn't want them to be practiced. And I was so surprised by how no matter what I asked a kid of any of these ages, they could go on and on and on as if they'd been thinking about it forever, and I didn't tip them off to what they'd be answering.
Wow.
And then also I think, because of television, and the internet now, because a lot of kids are on the internet, they really see a lot more than what we think.
Mhm. Mhm. That I love that you didn't tell the parents, because I think that it's true. Parents were like, "No, this is your favorite thing. Now be sure to say this." You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Excuse me.
Right.
Yeah. The other thing too is, in each chapter at the end you have this discussion topics. So with the book, do you? I see this as something where parents, especially now, can get together with their kids and kind of go through the chapters and have these conversations. And whether or not you live in San Francisco, but maybe also if you're planning on visiting, this would be a good way for family communication.
Right, and so much of it is, so many of the questions are not even city specific. They're really kind of based on what the kids said in the story about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And what I have loved is, people will show me pictures of their kids with the book and, them talking to their kids with the book. And then I had the experience recently of going to a friend's house, and her son is in the book, but her daughter was holding the book, and her daughter is, let's say, 8 or 9, and she kept asking us a bunch of the discussion questions, and we all talked about them, and her mom, my friend, said, all right, well, go get your pizza, dinner's here, you got to, go get it. And she's like, 2 more questions, just 2 more questions, and then she would do those 2, and just 2 more, and it was really fun for me to see her getting excited about it, and that's really my hope for what kids are going to do with their significant adults.
Wow, yeah. So, I love this part, because I think getting families together and having those, beyond bedside stories where it's interactive, that's the important thing.
Yeah, bedside stories are meant to put your child to sleep.
Yeah, right?
So there's no talking back. It's listen until you fall asleep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this is. But go ahead.
Yeah, there's with my niece today, I was talking to my 5 and 7-year-old nieces, and we were reading stories from the book and on Zoom, and they said there was a girl in one of the stories who is 5 years old, or was 5 years old when I interviewed her. She might be 6 now, and she is adopted. And they said, oh, she's adopted. And then one of the questions was, what do you think it would be like to be adopted? And they said, my 7-year-old niece said, well, it would be really happy when basically you got claimed, when you got adopted, but really sad when you lived in the orphanage. So I explained to them, oh, well, yeah, you could live in an orphanage, but a lot of times people get adopted before they're born, and then they might be lucky enough to meet their families, when they're born. And then my 5-year-old niece said, it's like Annie in the orphanage. It's like, oh, yeah, maybe that's where they got the orphan thing. But, so that's what I love, is talking through these things and seeing them learn.
I think also, the fact that you're interviewing kids, and then they know that these are other kids with their, answers. So it gives them a level of, as the reader, or, if parents are reading with them, or friends, family, that kids are at the forefront. It lets them know that somebody cares. And then it lets them know that, hey, other kids, there's other kids like me out there that like things or don't, or has, somebody else can smell this like I do, So it kind of gives them a bigger place in the world.
Right, and that's what I love about it, is that it's a way for them to see what a San Francisco kid's life is like, but then there's so much that's universal that, they can just get out of it. And that's why I love the questions at the end, because you get to see them comparing their stories and, just learning about their own lives through the life of someone else. Especially, I love the idea of somebody who's in this totally other place, like a rural environment in the middle of the country or something, where they're just like, maybe they've been to San Francisco, maybe they haven't, but it's maybe this completely other world from their experience. But they're going to pick up on things that are like, oh, yeah, me too. I love the playground by my house. I love ice cream. I love, it just makes that feeling of connection.
I love it. And, the other thing with these discussion topics, do you see this going into having like book clubs, but being of like a younger age, because, when you think about book clubs, it's always women in a room with wine, or maybe using Zoom and Skype, but I see like this could be totally cool, like book clubs with kids involved.
It would be so fun. Something that I'm doing now since the shelter-in-place order came in, and, you know, that's what we have in San Francisco, and I know people have variations in their places, and this is why I'm talking to my nieces every day, because they come on this call every day. It's a Zoom call, and then some of the kids from the book are on the call, and just different kids, and it's just sort of open for whatever day whoever shows up is on the call. And there's a girl in the book who lives in San Francisco who writes mystery stories, and she was on the Zoom call last week, and she wasn't on today. And my 7-year-old niece said, "Oh, is Alex on the call? Because I was gonna show her this mystery story I have, this book, you know." And I was like, "Oh, that's so cool that they're asking for each other," and, you know, because I really hadn't thought it through that much, other than to think, you know, we probably all at this moment are doing the thing we're good at. So I was like, I can gather kids in a Zoom session and read stories from the book, you know, but it's having this effect of, she thought about Alex when she, you know, my niece is in Phoenix and Alex is in San Francisco, and I just loved that she asked after her like that.
You know, this is interesting. You know, we just did a segment on this on our Friday show with Bobby DePorter of Quantum Learning Network and Supercamp. They're the world leader in summer academic achievement programs where teens and preteens live on campus for 10 days and learn the 8 keys of excellence and learn how to study and learn, you know, how to make decisions and things like that. And it all goes on this 8 keys of excellence education program, a really cool free program for families. So I encourage them to check it out. But they've launched this whole new program. It's a Quantum Learning Mentorship Program. And it's really neat because they've got the kids all coming in online through Zoom, and parents can check in on it too. But they're all online together. They learn how to study, and they have a mentor, but they've created teams so that kids can still have that teamwork going on, all online. And I think this is really neat. And if you can do that with, you know, the book club idea with the kids, and I mean, I just think it's a really cool thing for homeschoolers too, because now everybody's homeschoolers. So
everybody's homeschoolers, and the kids are looking to connect.
Yeah, you know, and it's funny with kids, they really are little adults, you know, and depending on how you treat them is how they react back. So if you treat them as if they are little adults, they act like little adults. But if you treat them like babies, then they tend to act like babies. You know, so that you know, if you give them that opening to be a little bit more with it and communicative, then they will take that opportunity.
Well, yeah, because they get to think for them. You're teaching them to think and to actually develop their own profile. You know what I mean? By asking these questions.
Yeah, and they're getting attention. They really, really love attention. I know, like, when you put your kid in the playpen and here's a bunch of toys, go play, and then you go off and do something else, they either fall asleep or they play for a little bit, and then they stand up and they scream and shout because they really need attention. So when you're talking to kids, they're into it.
Right, and they love attention based on who they are, you know. So I like to let it be open on these Zoom calls for them to do whatever they want. My 7-year-old niece just absolutely loves the Junie B. Jones series, so every day she's reading a chapter from that, you know, and then some of the kids from the book are reading their stories, and, you know, and it's just, they want that attention and they want to be understood for who they are.
Right.
That's cool. It's very cool. I want to, you know, dig into you a little bit here, you know, Katie, because you've been teaching creative writing, and now you also practice family law, right? So you're an attorney.
Yes.
So you're into the family side of things. But I was reading that you also taught creative writing in Kenya and in South Africa. Did you go to the countries, or is this through Zoom, or?
No, I went there. So in 2009 and 2010, I was in Kenya for a couple weeks at a time. I went three times to Kenya, I believe. Maybe twice. And Cape Town was in 2010. I was there the whole, you know, their winter, our summer. And yeah, in both programs, or actually in the first program in Kenya that I then returned to, we could either be on the teaching side or the medical side. There were people who were really interested in helping in a health clinic. So I wanted to do the teaching side and teach creative writing. And that was for primary school children. And then in Cape Town, the program I was working with was all teachers with with high school students.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. How awesome that you went over there, because that's where I went to school in both countries. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, Nancy used to teach art in Kenya.
That was so much fun.
Yeah,
two kids that we had so much fun.
Yeah. So
I had such a wonderful experience in Kenya.
And did you taught the adults too, not just the children?
I guess sort of, but it really was for the kids.
Okay.
So there were adults in the room.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, it's and then do you teach now?
No, I haven't taught recently. No, I haven't recently. I just one writing project after another has kind of taken over that side. But yeah, I would definitely go back to it. I mean, I love it. I absolutely love it. When I came back from Kenya the first time, I started a somewhat short-lived, it lasted for a few years, but a pen pal project with Kenyan kids writing to U.S. kids, and then in the other direction too. And yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Not bad.
Oh my gosh, I'm homesick. I'm just thinking about they're both beautiful, beautiful countries, and yeah, and you've been to Cape Town. Cape Town rocks. See now, Cape Town and San Francisco to me are very, very connected.
Similar.
They're very similar to me for a lot of reasons.
They are similar.
Yeah.
In fact, I preferred Kenya because it was so different from my experience. That I just loved it, and I found the people really warm. But yeah, I mean, Cape Town is absolutely beautiful. It just kind of felt very similar to San Francisco in a lot of ways. Kind of felt European. Like it didn't feel so different from my reality. Yeah,
no, that's really cool. And travel is so good, and I think that's what's really neat. Is like with books like yours and Urban Playground, it's like what kids say about living in San Francisco. It's like, ooh, it's a big city, so people are going to know about it. And it's like, oh, I've never been there. So there's a curiosity to learn about a community. But there's just that also, hey, maybe, I want to go there now, inspire kids to, want to travel. And I think that's a really special thing, too, with what you've done. And I can't wait. You've got to keep us posted on the next, the whole series. If you go to different cities. I think this is really awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Katie. It's been a blast, and it's a pleasure going through your book. Again, everyone, it's Urban Playground, What Kids Say About Living in San Francisco. Again, comes out April 7th through Spark Press, but you can get it on Amazon and IndieBound, right? IndieBound is where you're saying, too, that people can get it?
Yes. And the homepage of my website, both links are there.
Okay, yeah. Go to KatieBurkeAuthor.com. That's Katie, Katie, Burke, Burke, KatieBurkeAuthor.com. And, of course, we'll put everything up on our site as well on blendradioandtv.com. I want to thank you for joining us, Katie. And, everyone, thank you for joining us here on Quality of Life, Big Blend Radio here. And, Katie, quality of life. When you think of quality of life, what is one thing about San Francisco, before you go, that you would say provides quality of life?
Oh, maybe it's because I'm sheltering in place, but I just have to say the nature side of it, just the outdoors and the beautiful parks. To me, it's something we're so lucky to have.
And you've got some beautiful parks, even in your backyard, like out in Marin County, up in Muir Woods and Point Reyes, and then you've got Golden Gate, and you really do live in a beautiful place. Everyone, we're going to close with some music from San Francisco. I had to pick this, Now, kids don't, if it's raining, they're going to go run in the rain and splash in puddles. But also if they're, planning something, it's like, no, don't disturb my little play that I'm doing, or I'm building a fort. So this song is Don't Rain on My Parade. I'm sure a lot of you have heard it. It is from the album Take Two by Noah Levy, and Noah lives in San Francisco. We always love to play independent artists, especially now, as in with authors. With music, don't just stream it, buy it, download it. We can do that now. It's very easy. It doesn't take anybody shipping it. With books, I'm very pleased to see in this whole COVID-19 that Powell's, I got to give them a shout out, Powell's bookstores just hired another 100 people to go on that I think they had laid off, during the quarantine, but have hired them back on because so many books are flying off of shelves digitally, I should say. So it's looking good, Katie, for authors right now, with everybody at home.
That's so great. I love Powell's. They're so wonderful.
Oh, my gosh. Powell's is dangerous.
forever.
We went to Powell's when we were in Oregon and in Portland.
Oh, wow.
And all of a sudden we looked down and each of us had a shopping cart, like a big cart full over the top. And we were like, what are we doing?
I know. Well, Anne, did you ever find your way out of there? I mean, it's so amazing. It's such a wonderland.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's because they have musical instruments in there and like different. It's like
it's so much fun.
Oh yeah. It's very cool. So everyone, again, KatieBurkeAuthor.com. Here it is. Don't Rain on My Parade by Noah Levy, and you can keep up with Noah at NoahLevyLive.com. Thanks, everyone. Take care. We'll be back on Big Blend Radio tomorrow, Tuesday, March 31st, with author Tracy Richardson with her latest novel, Catalyst. So join us there. You can keep up with us at BigBlendRadio.com. But here it is. Don't Rain on My Parade. Thanks, Katie.
Thank you for having me.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Don't tell me not to live, just sit and putter. Life's candy and the sun's a bowl of butter. Don't bring around a cloud to rain on my parade. Don't tell me not to fly, I've simply got to. If someone takes a spill, it's me and not you. Who told you you're allowed to rain on my parade? How much my band out, I'll beat my drum. And if I'm found out, your turn at bat, sir. At least I didn't fake it, hat, sir. I guess I didn't make it, but whether on the rose of sheer perfection, a freckle on the nose of life's complexion, cinder or the shiny apple of its eye, I gotta fly once, I gotta try once, I only can die once, right, sir? Ooh, life is juicy, juicy, and you see, I gotta have my bite, sir. Get ready for me, love, 'cause I'm coming. I simply got to march, my heart's a drummer. Don't bring around a cloud to rain on my parade. I'm gonna live and live now, get what I want, I know how. One roll for the whole show, bang. One throw, that bell will go clang. Eye on the target and win. One shot, one gunshot, and bam! Nobody's gonna rain on my parade. No, 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 no. My eye on the target, my eye on the target, my... Hey world, here I am. I'll march my band out, I'll beat my drum, and if I'm fanned out, it's your turn at bat, sir. At least I didn't fake it, hot, sir. I guess I didn't make it. Get ready for me, love, 'cause I'm coming. I simply got to march, my heart's a drummer. Nobody, no, nobody is gonna rain on my parade.